You know, CBN has been so busy. They are on the news every day. They are adjusting monetary policies mechanically to see how they can stabilize the issue. They have reviewed import duties. Import duties have been reviewed 6 times in 2 weeks. 6 times in 2 weeks, import duties. And the reason why I know this is because we are trying to import something into the country. And our clearing agent keeps giving us updated payment positions. He has been faithful in showing us that it is now so number of millions. Then they'll increase it again. Say, it has become this number of millions now. And then they increase it 6 times. I've received those updates because of an attempt to import something. The product has not reached. The product left, set sail some time ago. But before its arrival, it's supposed to arrive next week. We have had 6 reviews of import duties. Now, those of you that read project management, how do you plan under this kind of circumstance? How do you budget? How do you forecast? When you cannot plan, when you cannot budget, when you cannot forecast, it means that your monetary system has failed. So the CBN is so active. I'm trying to interpret their policy. Sometimes it's even strange. It's strange what they come up with. And it will interest you to know, we just came back from Cameroon. And we used Askai Airlines for the trip. Askai Airlines is domiciled in Togo. So when you take a flight from Abuja, they'll take you to Togo first. And then from Togo, you can go any other destination of your choice. So we got to Togo, and Togo is not so far from here, as you know. And this meltdown, in fact, the currency of Togo, which is what's it called again? CFA, it has increased in value. The CFA has climbed. For the first time in all these trips that we have made, the Naira is junior to the CFA. It was an embarrassment. So what I'm saying is that this famine does not affect Togo. Ben-Hadad, the influence of Ben-Hadad is not a regional thing. It's just Nigeria that has been besieged. Are you there? And then Cameroon is on the other side. Benin Republic is here, Togo is here, Cameroon is here. You know the map. So we went to Cameroon, and everything was prospering. Everything, the economy was robust. The people were not even thinking about food because there was food everywhere. They were thinking about other things like witchcraft. One of the things that I'm going to compel us to do is to turn our face to the Lord and ask Him for an intervention. Because as I speak, it's obvious the king has no answer to this question. You must have heard what one of our senior ministers said in recent times in trying to analyze our condition from a more holistic perspective. He said that the problem of Nigeria is spiritual. As much as I know most of you don't like that kind of remark because you are professionals, you are economists, you are mathematicians, you are statisticians, and you know how to stimulate the economy and the kind of things that we need to do as a nation in order for us to come and float again. I know you are professionals, but the person that spoke is not an illiterate person. The pastor that spoke, that gave perspective about the state of our economy, is not altogether an illiterate. He's a doctorate degree holder. So he knows what the numbers mean. However, he said that our problem is not tied to strategy and methods. Our problem is spiritual. And that's the description of what was obtainable in this scripture. A woman cried out to the king. I heard that in times of famine, it's women that suffer more. I don't know how much truth. Because that truth is not from the Bible. It's just from, for instance, in times of war, the impact that it has upon women because of their tendency to want to provide for the family, to see that the children are eating, they can go without food and all of that. So so it was a woman that cried out to the king. The king was strolling on the fence, the wall of the city. I don't know what moved the hungry king to the fence, but that was where he was. And the woman was in the city and saw him elevated on the fence. He cried out, "O king, help us. O king, deliver us. This matter." And then the king now revealed. The king used to be a very unsincere man before, but that day he was sincere. He said, "If God does not help you, from whence can I bring this help?" Now, a lot of you are looking to our king and say, "I'm not an economist. I'm a scientist. And because of my experience in the petroleum industry, I have eyes to understand the news, the updates that are coming from that industry. Most often, it is the shape of the oil industry that determines the strength of our economy. And we have had a subsidy removal policy that skyrocketed all the prices to the current situation today. Now, the truth of the matter is that As you have all seen, the economy of Nigeria in the state that it was before the subsidy was removed did not have the capacity to maintain or to take the shock. And normally when a very drastic policy like that goes into force, palliatives are made available to cushion the effect of that drastic policy. Palliatives in form of increase in salaries, so that we can have a new average, a new reference point. Palliative in terms of, okay, the oil now, that because we're subsidizing consumption, which is it's a wrong economic strategy. So it is justified to remove the subsidy. But you can now subsidize the production, so that what it will cost to produce 1 liter of petrol will be less. And because of that, it will impact upon the prices. And that will be an internal arrangement that will create a buffer for the people. So basically, there are two sources. It's either we have subsidies. Are you there? Subsidies basically on production, so that the production cost will go down. For instance, if we subsidize, crude is the major component that determines 70% of what becomes the pump price. Unfortunately for us, crude is bought in hard currency, in dollars. It's priced and bought in dollars. So even if the price of crude should drop, because our naira has been devalued, it will still translate to a high pump price. You understand the metrics? So in such a situation, what the king said is what is obtainable. If God does not help you, from whence can I get the help? There's another argument, and the other argument is now that, okay, now that you have removed the subsidy, it means that there's more money available in the economy to attend to important matters. And I hope you know Nigeria. You hope you know Nigeria. The more money doesn't reflect on the dashboard. So if God does not help us, I did some calculations, but it's not for this class. If I'm not online, I will show you the calculations that I did from December to January, just looking at the Nigerian situation in terms of economy. And I came to the conclusion of the king. If God, please help me preach to your neighbor, if God does not help us, there is no help in sight. So I want to advise, if you can, I know in the marketplaces, and those of you that do business and trade in the market, every day you talk about the president and, he's not doing anything. He himself is helpless. Because when we decide to turn to God, many things happen. Sometimes God can allow a famine so that men can turn to him again. Right? Sometimes God can allow it so that the hearts of men can turn. Because normally, a lot of us will want to make do with our intelligence, and then a situation comes where your intelligence counts for nothing. An opportunity comes, therefore, for us to turn to the Lord our God. What was the price of Indomie before, and what is it now? I know there are people here that Indomie is a major item on their table, so they should be able to give us an update on that matter. Yes? Who? It was 50 naira. 350 for one. Oh, you are not helping me. You are not helping me. Oh, it seems the pastors don't eat Indomie. That's what I'm saying. Yes, Pastor Tony, what's happening? What was the cost of Indomie before, and what is the cost now?
The last time I went to get for my kids, I got a carton of Super Pack for 7,600.
No. You see, you are on another level. Okay. It's not. We are not talking about people that are buying cartons.
Okay.
In fact, you are not supposed to comment in this meeting. We are looking for people that buy one pack after pack. Those are the people that know the tension that is in the market. A pack, yeah, sister? Please equip her with the microphone.
Before Super Pack 1 was 200, as at today it's 400.
So we have... Yeah. They are saying that the shop you bought your own.
It's old stuff.
The help of the Lord had already visited that. The help that the king is talking about, that God can help. God had helped that shop. That's why it's wrong. Because it's 500 now.
A few days ago, it was 450.
It was 450.
I was at the shop last night. Somebody told me that the carton was 15,200. But at the shop, they say they supplied to the shop for 18,000. So we don't know what the retail price.
As unacademic as this first point is, we are going to believe it. If God does not help us. And indeed, I've looked at the figures. It's in the petroleum industry that my expertise gives me eyes to see. I've looked at the figures and I can tell you, if God does not help us, there is no help in sight. So in a time of famine, the most strategic thing that you will need is to secure the position of the voice of God. The reason why we are turning to God is so that we can receive. You see, God is so deep. You with me? God is so deep. In the book of Genesis, God decides to visit with Abraham, and he introduces himself to Abraham as the El Shaddai. Are you there? The El Shaddai, the strong, the one that can overcome every situation, the one that can overcome every circumstance, the multi-breasted, the one that can sustain every generation. So it's the strong that can overcome, it's the multi-breasted that can sustain. This was the introduction of himself that he brought to Abraham. And we see what he overcame in the life of Abraham was barrenness. He overcame barrenness in the life of Abraham. And I don't want to go into that. He overcame famine in the life of Isaac. So we're going to go into the life and he overcame poverty. Poverty is personal. Famine is corporate. Are you there? Poverty is individualized. Famine is an affliction. It's a regional affliction. It's a national affliction. It's a territorial affliction. Famine is an indication of the fact that the territory is sick and needs a healer. Listen to me. God is not a man. If you go to the economics class in Benue State University, they will give you numerous assortments of solutions to the economic meltdown. The lecturers know it, even though they are not working in it. But at least they know it. They will be saying something. The thing they are saying, they are not experiencing it, but they'll be saying it. God doesn't give you an intellectual answer. He doesn't give you an answer that seems to suggest that, that is one high intellectual strategy. God will give you an answer that if you are not sure it is him, you will despise the answer. Because the answer doesn't seem to have the ability to address the issue for which it came. The same land that has been bedeviled by famine, God is asking Isaac, remain in that land and I will bless you. It has not rained in this land. How do you bless a man in a land that has been reproached by lack of rain? Ben-Hadad, the deity of storm and rain, has come against the territory. How do you bless a man? You know, when working with God, put your mind behind. You can only work with him with your heart. Your heart is the organ that yields to him even when it doesn't make sense. If you need to make sense out of everything that God says, you will never work with God. God is determined to confound your wisdom. God is determined to ensure that you get to experience the fact that it doesn't need to sound intellectual in order for it to come with salvation. Remember the recommendation of the king. If the Lord does not help us, from whence can I bring the help? So that help that we're going to seek from the Lord normally contradicts the intellectual approach. And that's why it's going to be a journey of faith and not a journey of sight. So these are the days where we need to seek guidance from God. There is no situation you find yourself in that there is no guidance that can come from God that can settle you in that situation. All of you know my story. How I was in the oil industry and I was doing well. We were well paid. You didn't need to take a bribe because your salary was okay. We were earning way more than ₦1 million under the circumstances of the old Nigeria, not this roller coaster system. We're doing well. Young guys, we're doing well. We're expert professionals in what we were doing. So then the Lord now says, resign. So I went to him. I knew it was him that was giving me guidance. So I asked him, you are aware that I have a multitude in my house. And when you asked me to resign, you didn't ask them to go. you didn't ask the multitude to go. So now, how do I continue being the support system that I am in their lives if I no longer have this my good job? Do you know that this inquiry did not take long? He answered me. If I tell you the answer now, you'll be weak because it's not intellectual. You know what he told me? He said, teach the Bible. Does that sound? I'm just trying to let you know how God works. His answers are not intellectual. His answers are rejoicing to the heart and not the head. They don't make sense, but they make life. I can tell you that. This Teach the Bible matter that I'm telling you, he gave me this instruction in 2020. I had not resigned yet. Teach. I came home for a weekend to go back to work, and because of COVID, all the borders of the states were shut down. So I began to talk to my colleague on the other side. He sends me data, I work on the data, do everything, do the job, and then I send it. So I was able to continue doing my work from here, right? Then, early in the morning, you know my friend from Lagos, Prophet Ayo, now calls me. Say, I saw you on the white horse, and as you were riding on that horse, you were proclaiming the kingdom. Guess what he now says in interpreting what the vision meant? He said, teach the Bible now. Hey, teach the Bible? It's okay. That was how we started that teaching that I did preach for 80 days. Those of you that were there. It was on the instruction of teach the Bible. Two things happened when I taught the Bible during those 80 days. Are you still with me? First thing that happened is, since the history of this ministry, there has never been a time, that is the history of this ministry up until that time. There has never been a time where people gave to this ministry like the 80 days. That 80 days of preaching was our breakthrough in terms of people sowing into the ministry. The flow was so consistent, and so the momentum, I don't know, what's the name? Give me a scientific word for this. Huh? You people want to confuse our audience now. You know what I'm talking about. The way the finances was flowing in on a daily basis, it was on the strength of that flow that we took off by faith and started laying this foundation. You know where we were now. The capacity of the building was 250 people. And then we now started building a hall that will take 4,500 people. Are we not crazy? We are crazy now. But it began to flow. This foundation you are standing on cost 55 million that time. Not now, that time. Because if you are saying that Indomie that used to be 250 is 500, if this foundation costs 55 million, what is it cost now? You got it right. That's the value. And I continued teaching, and the people were giving. I don't know what was going on. People were giving, and that was how the walls went up. So, and are you with me? Let me tell you my own little one. As they were giving to us as a ministry, they were also giving me in my account. 5,000 we enter, 20,000, 10,000. In fact, they give in one day. That's my own small one now. In 24 hours, they gave me my salary. So I said, oh, what was it? You are not following me. You are not following me. So God was trying to prove to me that the strategy he gave me, even though it doesn't sound intellectual, it will work. For there will be no cloud, there will be no wind, but the ditches shall be filled with water. Didn't sound intellectual. I got my salary in 24 hours. So I now understood that I could survive based on that strategy. It is because of that when you come for fellowship, I will never lack what to tell you. I will prepare in the night. I will wake up and go and pray to know the mind of God. Because as I am doing it, the other aspect too. So that is why the meltdown is not affecting me. Because I got my own guidance from God. And the thing about the guidance we get from God, it doesn't expire when it's 2025. Now, I'm provoking you. See, I want you to, I want to come one day. And there are so many testimonies that will now abolish testimonies. And say, because if we start taking testimonies every day, we will not have time. Go back and receive guidance for your life. For me, he said what? Teach the Bible. So I became faithful in teaching the Bible. And then, in that 2002, it's on 2020. Is that not when we went to London? I think it's we that can tell me this. That's when I went to London. So when I went to London first was 2020 March. So this, I've been applying for the UK visa. You know my story. In fact, the one that they gave me, when they gave me, the passport was closed. I didn't believe that there was any visa inside. The reason why I didn't believe was because the application I did with all government backup letters and my pay slip and all the things they need, they denied it. So this one, I even made mistakes. in the application. But they gave me that one. And a senior man of God that has preached here before registered his intention to invite me. So the moment I saw the visa in my passport, I snapped it. And I put it on his WhatsApp. You know how we use WhatsApp to shout? You put some people that are doing like this. It means we are shouting. So you put... That was how I got invited to London. And the church was so gracious, they put me on business class. That was the business class on British Airways. Oh my God. It was an experience. Then we got there and all of that. And I went to look for what to say in the place of prayer. It took me 12 hours. But I got a message from God. And what's the instruction? Teach the Bible. You know that message was what opened Europe to me. By the time I came back from London, because I preached on Friday, I think I preached on Thursday, preached on Friday evening, preached on Saturday morning, Saturday evening, Sunday morning, right? My flight was Sunday evening. Flight from London to Abuja was Sunday evening. It's a 10 p.m. flight. You just push your seat like this and you sleep. Then I was in Abuja. When we came out, I was convinced that I knew what God meant when he said, teach the Bible as a strategy for my sustenance and the inhabitants of my household. Ever since then, I've continued obeying that instruction. And I've seen miracles of how God can use nothing to sustain a man. So I'm challenging you now, go back and turn your face to the wall. And don't live there until God gives you guidance. Sometimes he allows situations, he allows circumstances so that we know who among us is wise. Because the wise among us will go back to God and get guidance from him. The Lord is my shepherd. What is the result? I shall not want. If you allow God to lead you, he will take you out of want. So the brethren that are listening to me online, you are listening from London, you are listening from Vienna, you are listening from someplace in Europe, someplace in the United States, and maybe there is no economic meltdown in your city, in your nation, but you are struggling with poverty. So Ben Hadad is on your case as an individual, not on the territory. You will need guidance from God. Guidance from what? God. I went somewhere in Zimbabwe, finished preaching in the meeting that I was invited to preach, and the pastor invited me to his church. So I said, all right, no problem, I'll come. So we now went, and they gave me the platform, and I began to teach. And the grace of God was so strong on my life. The utterance, the insight, the revelation. In fact, I was seeing revelations in the scripture when I came to preach that I did not see when I was studying. The thing was open. I finished teaching, and one man in the congregation said, please come. When are you leaving? I said, I'm leaving tomorrow. They said, no, you can't leave tomorrow. We are going to pay the airline to extend your days. You have to remain here and do what? And teach. We are going to take a moment of time. You are going to ask God for your own strategy. In the eyes of God, as long as I can teach, I will not beg for bread. You also have a strategy for your own life. And as long as you do it, you will not beg. Stay with him until you get it. The Lord is my shepherd. What will happen? I shall not want. When God begins to guide you, then poverty, it leaves you. I've studied prosperity very well in the scriptures, and I can tell you the key to blessing is hearkening unto the voice of God and obeying. That's the key to blessing. When God says, do this, do it, you will prosper. The key to cursing is disobeying the voice of God. Situations and circumstances will turn against you. And if you are here today, you are presumptuous. That means instead of you going to seek God, you say, let me do this thing, God will bless it. You will learn practical lessons of defeat and failure. We're going to pray tonight. Can you allow the Lord be your shepherd? Can you allow him be your guide? Can you allow him lead the way? He told me, teach the Bible. Teach the Bible. Hallelujah. Teach the Bible. That's the wisdom he gave me. Teach the Bible. I've seen kings, leaders of nations, attracted to my life just because I teach the Bible. There are people that teach better than me, but God did not give them teaching as a strategy to blessing them. But me, he gave me. Do you understand that? He will be committed to confirming the word that he has given you. I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm just saying that's the instruction he gave. Teach the Bible. There is nothing Satan can close from your destiny that which God asks you to do will not open. Teach the Bible. Now, I use my example, my life as an example, so that you'll be able to relate with what I'm saying. If you can hear God, it will possible. Right there on your seat, can we pray a prayer? Oh, I'm open to guidance. I know that you know the way through the wilderness. The wilderness of the economy of Nigeria is a maze. Even someone using a drone will not be able to navigate because the maze is a mystery. Give me guidance. Show me the way through the wilderness. I don't want to get lost under the pressure of circumstances, under the pressure of situations. Do a miracle. Utter your voice. Call upon him quietly. Call upon him. Call upon him. Your business is beginning to fail. The shop is beginning to wither. Those are the symptoms of Ben-Hadad. There is another instruction that you will need to receive. There is another instruction that you will need to receive. And for those of you that are participating online, you need guidance. Voice of God has to speak to your heart. And as long as the Lord is your shepherd, you will not want.
Thank you for watching. Do well to subscribe, like, share the video to your loved ones so they can receive what God is doing from this platform. You can also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, and we are on Twitter. Thank you.